laziness is not a character flaw, it's a symptom of an undiagnosed problem. And here's the disturbing reality: behavioral scientists have proven that what we call laziness is actually your brain protecting you from one of three things: unclear goals, fear of failure, or complete values misalignment. You're not lazy. You're stuck in a psychological trap you don't even know exists. By the end of this video, I'll reveal the exact diagnostic framework that identifies which trap you're in and the protocol to escape it in 24 hours. But first, you need to see what mislabeling yourself as lazy is costing you every single day. Let me show you what's happening right now. You wake up with a plan. You're going to be productive today. You're going to get things done. But hours pass and you've done nothing. You've scrolled. You've watched videos. You found 17 things to do that aren't the thing you said you'd do. And you judge yourself. I'm so lazy. But that's not what's happening. Laziness implies you don't care. But you do care. That's why you feel guilty. If you were truly lazy, you wouldn't feel anything. But you feel terrible. Which means this isn't laziness. It's avoidance. And avoidance always has a reason. Here's what nobody tells you about what looks like laziness. It's almost never about lacking energy or drive. It's about your brain detecting a threat and shutting you down before you get hurt. The task feels overwhelming? Your brain labels it as too big to handle and avoids it to protect you from failure. The goal feels meaningless? Your brain deprioritizes it because it doesn't align with what you actually value. The outcome feels uncertain? Your brain avoids it because uncertainty equals danger in your subconscious. So you're not being lazy, you're being protected. And protection is keeping you stuck. Now here's the brutal part. Every day you accept the label lazy, you're reinforcing an identity. You're telling yourself a story that you're someone who doesn't follow through, who can't be productive, who lacks discipline. And your brain believes stories, so it acts accordingly. You think you're lazy, so you behave lazy, which confirms you're lazy. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the cycle repeats until you're so convinced of your laziness that you stop trying. And that's where potential goes to die. Let me tell you what mislabeling yourself as lazy costs you. First, self-trust evaporates. You stop believing in your ability to do what you say. Second, opportunities pass. You don't apply, don't start, don't try because you've decided you're too lazy to follow through. Third, shame accumulates. Every unproductive day becomes evidence of your inadequacy. Fourth, time compounds. Months turn into years of not building anything because you accepted a false diagnosis. And the real tragedy is none of it was true. You were never lazy. You were just solving the wrong problem. Here's what's actually happening in your brain. Your prefrontal cortex is responsible for planning and execution, but it's constantly being overridden by your limbic system, your emotional, survival-focused brain. And the limbic system has one priority: avoid pain, seek pleasure. So when a task feels hard, boring, or uncertain, your limbic system hijacks the decision. It floods you with resistance. It makes you feel heavy, unmotivated, stuck, and you interpret that as laziness. But it's not. It's your brain saying this doesn't feel safe or rewarding, so I'm shutting it down. And until you address the actual problem, no amount of willpower will fix it. Now here's the shift that changes everything. You stop asking, why am I so lazy? And start asking, what is this avoidance protecting me from? Because avoidance is always protection. And once you identify what you're being protected from, you can address it. And when you address the real issue, the so-called laziness disappears. Not because you became more disciplined, but because you removed the block. Here's the framework. There are 3 root causes of what looks like laziness: ambiguity paralysis, fear-based avoidance, values misalignment. Ambiguity paralysis happens when the task is too vague. Your brain doesn't know where to start, so it doesn't start. Fear-based avoidance happens when the task is tied to potential failure or judgment. Your brain protects your ego by keeping you from trying. Values misalignment happens when the task doesn't connect to what you actually care about. Your brain deprioritizes it because it doesn't matter to you. And all 3 require different solutions. Let me show you how to diagnose which one you're dealing with. Ask yourself, do I know exactly what I need to do, step by step? If no, it's ambiguity paralysis. Am I afraid of how it will turn out or what people will think? If yes, it's fear-based avoidance. Do I actually care about this goal, or is it something I think I should care about? If you don't care, it's values misalignment. One question, three possibilities, and the answer determines the cure. But here's the trap. Most people try to beat laziness with discipline. They force themselves to work harder, to push through. But discipline doesn't fix ambiguity, it doesn't fix fear, and it definitely doesn't fix misalignment. You're using a hammer on a screw. It doesn't work, so you fail, and you conclude you're lazy. But you're not, you're just using the wrong tool. Here's the solution for ambiguity paralysis. You break the task into micro-steps so small that your brain can't find a reason to resist. Not write the book, but write one sentence. Not get in shape, but do one push-up. You're shrinking the task to the point where ambiguity disappears. Your brain knows exactly what to do, and when it knows, it moves. The resistance collapses. And once you start, momentum takes over. But you have to make the first step so small that it's impossible to avoid. Now here's the solution for fear-based avoidance. You separate the task from the outcome. Most people avoid tasks because they're afraid of the result. What if I fail? What if people judge me? But here's the shift. You reframe the task as practice, not performance. You're not doing it to succeed. You're doing it to learn. And if it's practice, there's no failure. There's only feedback. Your ego is safe. And when your ego is safe, your brain stops protecting it. The resistance fades, and you can act. Here's the psychology. Your brain avoids tasks when it perceives threat, and the threat is usually to your self-image. If I try and fail, it means I'm not good enough. But if you remove the performance pressure, the threat disappears. You're not trying to be good, you're trying to improve, and improvement is safe, so you act. And action is the only thing that beats avoidance. Let me give you the solution for values misalignment. You stop doing things because you should and start doing things because you want to. Most people are trying to achieve goals that don't align with their actual values. They're chasing money when they value freedom. They're chasing status when they value peace. And your brain knows. It can sense the misalignment, so it deprioritizes the goal. It makes you feel lazy, but you're not lazy. You're just being asked to care about something you don't care about. And the solution is not to force yourself to care. It's to choose different goals. Here's what happens when you align your actions with your values. The resistance disappears. You don't have to motivate yourself. The work feels natural. Not easy, but natural. Like you're moving with the current instead of against it. And that's because you're no longer fighting yourself. You're no longer trying to care about something your subconscious has rejected. You're building something that actually matters to you. And mattering is the fuel that discipline can't provide. Now here's where it gets interesting. Most people have all three blocks operating at once. The goal is vague. They're afraid of failing, and they don't actually care about it. So they're triply stuck, and they wonder why willpower doesn't work. But once you diagnose which block is strongest, you attack that one first. You clarify the task. You reframe it as practice. You check if it aligns with your values. And one by one, the blocks fall. And what looked like laziness transforms into momentum. Here's the neuroscience. When you remove the block, your brain releases dopamine. That's the reward chemical. And dopamine doesn't just make you feel good. It strengthens the neural pathway you just used. So when you take action after removing the block, you're building a new pattern. A pattern that says when I face a task, I identify the block, I remove it, and I act. And the more you repeat this, the more automatic it becomes. Until it's not a conscious process. It's just what you do. Let me give you the protocol. Step 1. Identify the task you're avoiding. Step 2. Diagnose the block. Is it ambiguous, fear-based, misaligned? Step 3. Apply the corresponding solution. Clarify, reframe, or realign. Step 4. Take one micro-action immediately. Not tomorrow. Now. Step 5. Track the result. Did the resistance decrease? Did you move forward? You're not trying to be perfect. You're trying to build evidence that you can move when you remove the real block. Here's what happens when you do this consistently. Week 1, you're diagnosing and removing blocks consciously. It feels manual. Week 2, you're catching the blocks faster. Week 3, you're removing them almost automatically. Week 4, you've built a new default. You don't sit in avoidance anymore. You identify what's causing it and you fix it. And by week 8, people start calling you disciplined. but you're not more disciplined than before. You're just not blocked anymore. And unblocked action looks like discipline to people who are still stuck. But here's the part most people miss. You can't just remove blocks once and expect them to stay gone. Life creates new ambiguity, new fears, new misalignments. So this is not a one-time fix. It's a daily diagnostic. Every time you feel resistance, you pause and ask, what's the block? And you remove it, and you move. And over time, this becomes your operating system. You don't waste energy fighting yourself. You just identify the issue and solve it. And solving it is faster than fighting it. Every time. Now here's the secret method I promised you. It's called the 2-minute clarity test. When you feel lazy, you set a timer for 2 minutes. And in those 2 minutes, you answer 3 questions. 1. What exactly am I avoiding? 2. Why am I avoiding it? 3. What's the smallest next step? And here's what happens. By the time the timer goes off, the fog has lifted. You know what the block is. You know what to do about it. And the act of clarifying has already started the momentum. Your brain went from I don't want to I know what to do. And knowing is 80% of the battle. Here's what elite performers understand. They're not less lazy than you. They're just better at diagnosing why they're stuck. They don't judge themselves. They investigate themselves. And investigation reveals solutions that judgment never will. So they spend less time in resistance because they're faster at identifying and removing the cause. And speed of diagnosis is the difference between wasting a day and wasting 5 minutes. Let me show you what happens if you don't fix this. A year from now, you're still calling yourself lazy, still feeling guilty, still stuck in the same patterns, because you're treating a symptom instead of the disease. And symptoms don't go away when you ignore the disease. They get worse, so the guilt deepens, the shame compounds, and the identity of lazy person hardens until you can't imagine being anything else. And that's not a future. That's a prison sentence. Here's the truth. You've never been lazy. Not once. You've been blocked. And blocks can be removed. But only if you stop accepting the label and start asking the real questions. What's unclear? What am I afraid of? Does this actually matter to me? And once you answer those, the path forward appears. And the path forward is never complicated. It's just obscured by the wrong diagnosis. Now let me tell you what you're losing every day you accept the lazy label. You're losing respect for yourself. You're losing time you'll never recover. You're losing the momentum you could be building. And you're losing the identity of someone who executes. Because every day you don't act, you're proving to yourself that you're incapable. And that proof becomes belief. And belief becomes destiny. So you're not just losing today, you're losing the trajectory. Here's the protocol for today. Right now, you're going to pick one task you've been avoiding, and you're going to run the diagnostic. Is it unclear? Make it specific. Is it fear-based? Reframe it as practice. Is it misaligned? Choose a goal you actually care about. And then you're going to take one micro step, not the whole task. One step, and you're going to prove to yourself that you're not lazy. You're just unblocked, and unblocked you is unstoppable. Because laziness is a myth. It's a story we tell ourselves when we don't understand what's actually happening. And what's actually happening is solvable. Every time. You just have to stop blaming yourself and start diagnosing yourself. Stop calling yourself lazy and start calling yourself blocked. Because blocked can be fixed. Lazy is permanent. And you're not permanent. You're in process. And the process starts the moment you remove the first block. Beat laziness today. Not by working harder, but by working smarter, by identifying what's actually stopping you and removing it, and then moving, one micro step at a time, until you're not stuck anymore, until you're building. And building is the opposite of lazy. What's your first micro step?